And it really, the benefit as well is getting to see each other's faces. There's a language learning community here on campus, and you guys are a part of that language learning community. So, just want to share that with you guys. Anybody got any questions? Anything on your mind?
So, when you do note cards, do you want them like in color, or like, I don't know if I was supposed to confuse them in my color, because they were color.
Oh, well, that's just for your own use. So I've got ones that we'll use for in here. We used them last. You might make some that are a little bigger. They're a little bit hard to see. But yeah, those are just, I put them up there just in case you wanted them, just for practice.
I was going through to pick new words because I picked all words from the first lessons pretty much. Trail, there's one and two, or if the word was used to imply something.
Oh, that's
like a verb.
That's a verb that means to track somebody.
Track. Okay.
Right, but it also means to entangle something. It's the same, you know, and we've got verbs that have multiple meanings. Some of it could be more on the metaphorical side as far as how it functions.
Okay.
Yeah. And then trail is day. That would just be like a trail, you know, I walk down the trail. That would be trail, road, path.
On the trail, day yik.
Yeah, day yik.
Day yik.
Yik. So there's, the first one is a noun, day, which means, you know, a road, a path, a trail. You'll see it in certain place names like day shu, yauk day ya. So you'll see it pop up a lot of places. And we'll start with something interesting about that one. Is there are 4 day. I don't want to say it. I don't want to say days. The word day. Day. The word day appears in 4 different ways in Tlingit. The first one would be the noun day, right? Like it's a path. It's a trail. It's, you know, especially if it's a trail that a mountain goat uses, you'd say Jenmu Deyi. So you call it mountain goat trail. The second one attaches to nouns, and it means to go towards it. So I could say, if I had said hit, I could say hit day. It's going towards the house. This is usually some sort of motion verb involved with it. It has a couple other grammatical uses that are kind of funky, but it generally just means towards. If it comes before a verb, good, and then blah, 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 you're saying at the time that that verb was happening, blah, 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 blah. If it happens after the verb, it's usually coming after a command form, like nata means go to sleep, natade means go to sleep right now, right? So it's putting emphasis on it, and usually you're getting a little grumpy when you're using that one. So there's a couple of kind of tricky homonyms to watch out for. That's one where there's 4 of them, and their uses are actually outside of road, but they are quite similar. The other thing is yik, so that comes after it. There's these things that we call relational nouns, or sometimes we'll call them directional, relational terms. And so this would be like what we, in English, we call it a preposition. What's a preposition in English? Can anybody describe it, or give me some examples? To, that's a preposition. Any others? Of, on, around, about, through. Right? These under. These are prepositions. We know how to use them in English, right? He walked through the door. To say he walked through the door in Tlingit, grammatically, once the Tlingit word order comes into effect, you would say door through, he walked, right? That's basically how you take care of it. So day yik, that yik part means to be in a container that's open to the above, which is kind of interesting. So you're not on, there's a way to say on, like you could be on the table. But when you're on the road, You're sort of in this sort of little container. So it's always interesting to think about how Tlingit looks at space. Some people look at these things a little bit differently, just because they've internalized them, and you know, it's always interesting because you could say heen yik, and that means I'm in the water, kind of up to my knees, and then heen tak would be anything above the knees, including totally submerged, or you're in water that's deeper than you, and you're just sort of floating on the top. Anything else? Everybody okay? Is anybody not okay? I guess I should ask that, because I always say, is everybody okay? And people just stare at me. Sometimes I get like little nods and stuff. Just checking in. Online, everybody okay? Good. Okay. Okay. So we're going to run through our drills again. I might have to ask you to be a little bit creative, simply because with folks online, it gets a little bit more difficult to use a lot of props and other things like that. I was thinking about this. This is the first time actually I've taught this class via distance, so it's really fun. I want to just give it a shot and see what it was like. There's a beep. I don't know what the beep was. So on the screen, we're looking at a number of things. We're just going to sort of talk about, again, forming these basic questions. We'll also, tomorrow, we'll revisit our pronunciation chart so we can start thinking about that again. For now, we'll continue to give it a little rest. So again, we've got these things on the left. Can anybody find what page this is on?
39.
It's on page 39 in your handout. It's towards the back as we get towards the end of the lessons. And it's just sort of basic question forming in Tlingit. So these are the, in English you would use who, what, where, when, and why, but they don't always form questions, right? And you can say, I don't care who was doing that. I don't know why, you can say something like that, right? Or I don't know who was doing that. And that's not, it's more of a statement than a question. The other, so Tlingit can do that as well. So you could say, wasa iyati, and that's a question. How are you doing? But you could say, wasa hatu yake, how very good we feel, right? And you're trying to put emphasis. It's almost like saying, I can't even describe how good we feel. And so it's really neat the way that Tlingit uses some of these things. And as we start to unpack more of the language, we'll find metaphors and implied meanings all over the place with Tlingit. It's very fun. So, running through, we'll just stick with sa. We're not going to put the ya or the way on there, but in other cases we will. When we get to gu, we're just going to say gu su. And we'll all explain it after we run through our dasa way drills. Okay, so I'll say it, you repeat. Dasa.
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 That's what. Daqasa.
Dasa.
Daqasa.
Dasa.
Somebody describe that one to me.
Which one?
Yeah, which one? So you have this limited set that you know about, picking which one of these known sort of items. Wasa.
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 How? Adusa.
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 Asa.
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 And that's who. Now when you get a verb introduced, and sometimes it's asking who verbed, a lot of times it'd say aduchsa. Aduchsa.
Adusa.
So it puts a CH on the end. Gusu.
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 Where? Kunsa.
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 How much? Kwetkinsa.
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 When? In the future. Quatksa,
Quatksa.
quatksa,
Quatksa.
when in the past. Dot yissa,
Dot yissa.
dot yissa,
Dot yissa.
what for? So the yes is sort of like, what is it going to be given for, or what is it benefiting? Dot qasa,
Dot qasa.
dot qasa,
Dot qasa.
what for, as in what going after what? So the examples would be, what are you making fry bread for? I'm making it for the community dinner tonight, right? So that's the reason. That's what it's going to benefit. Dat qasa, what are you going to the store for? What are you going after? Literally means to go after something. Wa nakhsa,
Wanaksa.
wa nakhsa,
Wanaksa.
why? Now there's quite a few of these, especially dasa, wasa, adusa. If we change this to guksa, kunsa, we took those ones as an example. If you put cha in front of it, this little particle, cha, which sort of means just or really or something like that. Cha dasa, that means whatever, right? Like any, whatever, like someone might say, like an elder might say, go get me some food from that table. There's a whole bunch of food on the table. And you might say, what kind of food do you want? And they might say, cha dasa, anything, right? Just any old thing, whatever. Cha wasa. So, and this is CH apostrophe A. That's what we're looking at here. And then, let me just make a little thing here. Oh, what color are you? That's real. Oh. This is what we're looking at here. So if this just goes sort of in front of any of these. So cha wasa would mean however, any old way. So, maybe you're asking somebody to do something and they'll say, well, how do you want me to do that? You'd say, cha wasa, like whatever way. It can also be used to mean sort of not very carefully done, right? Cha wasa wuti. It was just any old way, right? It could also imply that it wasn't correctly structured in a way of like criticism. There's another way to say like even worse, but it could have a negative sort of meaning. Cha'asa. Cha'asa. So what do you think that might mean? Whoever, right? Whoever, right? Like who's gonna make my birthday cake? Cha'asa, whoever. And then chaguksa. Chaguksa. Wherever, right? And so Tlingit is full of a lot of, not in the right context, right? Especially if you're getting to know people and you're trying to be funny. And it's fun to be funny in Tlingit. So there's an elder in Yakutat named Wushchichu Ish, George Ramos. And he was visiting with us and he gave us this awesome speech in Tlingit. So we walked him back to his four-wheeler. And I said, "Siyet kwasatin, see you later." And he turned to me and says, "Chaguksa," wherever, and he just took off. It was very fun. So there's another thing we can do. And this could jump in front of all these. So there's a word klesh. Do we know what that word means? No. Not. So it means not. So it turns things negative, right? As opposed to, it's related to no. It's related to no. So if we said klesh dasa, klesh dasa, nothing, right? So nothing. There's nothing in it, right? Klesh dasa. You could say Keshdasa hasawaska. They don't know anything. It's not a very nice thing to say, but I've heard somebody say it. It wasn't me. Keshwasa, Keshwasa, Keshwasa. So that would really mean like know how, right? Like N-O and then H-O-W. But this one actually has a special cultural context. So if someone says, Wasa'iyati, like how are you doing? Wasa'iyati. Keshwasa. That just means okay. And it sort of depends on the context and the tone. Because it could just mean whatever, you know, so-so, whatever. Not sort of a non-answer. But the other use is you could say keshwasakukwati. It's going to be okay, right? So that implies that, you know, like maybe we're in a boat and we're scared because the boat, we're in some real shaky water. Keshwasakukwati. It's going to be okay, right? If you're trying to comfort people. The other way that this could be used is if you stood up, like say you messed up and you stood up and you apologized to everybody. And there's a way to apologize for messing up in Tlingit. But the things that I've learned is it's got to be a really big deal, right? Otherwise you just say plum, like whoops, right? But if you did really mess up, and we'll go over that one later, but it means forgive me. But we went to a language immersion, we were using that for like excuse me, right? So somebody's, you know, and the elder's like, you're wearing that out. And so we said, well, what do we say? And I said, get out of my way, right? And you just say that to people. And it's not rude, you know, because it's just, languages communicate different. That's just all it is. But if you did offend somebody, and then you realize it, and you say, you know, forgive me. They might say, keshwasa, like it's okay. You know, so it's almost like saying, forget about it. It's okay, don't worry about it. Keshasa. Keshasa. Nobody. Right? So we're seeing how these things, so we're just learning another set of particles and how these little things can get put together. It's almost like there's slot A, slot B, slot C. And you know, when they combine, sometimes you also get different cultural contexts. Question? Okay. So we'll run through these phrases that are sort of utilizing some of these questions. Some of them are going to be useful, some of them may not. I think I've got all these slides on tlingit.info now if you want to download them and hold on to them. Dasa ituwasagu. Dasa ituwasagu. Let's actually, we're going to jump ahead a little bit. So let me slide this. So let's see, we got 2 on the phone and 2 online. Some things that you might want.
Candy.
Candy? So yeah, you could say. So if I said, someone said dasa ituwasagu, the answer could be blank tuwasagu. So everybody say tuwasagu. 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 And so the first round is let's go around. Tell me one thing that you might. What's your noun? Think of a noun. It could be Tlingit. If you can't think of a Tlingit one, you could use an English one like candy. I might tell you the Tlingit word. Klinuksiat would be candy, but it's not any. It's not like an O. Henry bar, and it's not like a. It's not a specific. It's not a Jolly Rancher. I don't know how you would just use the English names for them. Klinuksiat just means sweet thing. So let's see. So what's your noun going to be? It could be anything. Right. We'll come back to you. Okay. Shanuksi Saukne. We'll just do the noun for now. Just the noun. Kakwe. We can want the same thing. That's okay. We could share. There's plenty. There's a big thermos. Okay. Kakwe. Mm-hmm. Okay. Sure. Oh, let's just do kanata. That's the more common blueberry. It was a different kanata. Yeah, the other one was I don't know my berries for. I think it's like a low bush blueberry, perhaps. So, but we'll use kanata. Okay. Chayu. Okay. Tea. Okay, we'll come back. Sapne, okay. Yak. For your northward journey. Heen, okay. On the phone.
Is there a word for candy cane, or is that just fake candy?
I don't think there is a word for candy cane. We could call it chinuksikas, chinuksi, kas. Yeah, the sweet stick.
I forgot my lunch, so I'm eating the candy cane.
Oh, okay. That is, well, that'll hold you over for a little bit. And cacao shatit.
John.
Okay. And ist uchta.
Achlik. My grandma?
What was that again? Oh, okay. Achlik. And achgeit.
Guakan achtuasigu.
Okay, so Guwakan. Okay, so you gotta remember what you told me. Although if you change it, I probably wouldn't. Oh wait, did you pick one?
Sure. Nekun.
Nekun. Okay, Anjas. Okay, so now I'm going to ask you dasa etuasagu. You're going to pick your noun plus achtuasagu. So as we learn these are fill in the blank phrases, right? So now we can. There's all wanting things is a big deal, right? Want water, want food, want money, want whatever. Okay. Dasa etuasagu. Okay, dasa etuasagu. Dasa etuasagu. Dasa etuasagu. Dasa etuasagu. Okay. Dasa etuasagu. Dasa etuasagu. Dasa etuasagu. Dasa etuasagu. Dasa etuasagu. And on the phone, dasa etuasagu.
I forgot how to say it. Wait,
Chinuksikas. Just say candy cane.
Candy cane is the wasagu.
Okay. Cacao chatik, dasa etuasagu. Are you there? Oh, maybe we lost him. Echt uchta dasa etuasagu.
Achlik achtuasigu.
Achgeit dasa etuasagu.
Guakan achtuasigu.
Oh. Okay, dasa achtuasagu. Tlingit yuchetangi achtuasagu. So well, just sort of continue to give you a sneak peek at verbs. They're coming. When we say dasa ituasagu is the verb phrase itself. Gu is the root, which means pleasure, happiness. Sigu is the verb itself, which means happy, right? Ituwasagu is kind of a funky thing in Tlingit, so tu means inside of something, and ya means the face of something. So it's like that face inside me is happy, is basically the grammatical breakdown. But there's all kinds of things in Tlingit that we just learn. If you break down the individual components, this is what you've got. But in actuality, you know, you're kind of saying, what would make you happy inside? What would make you, right? What would be good? And then you would say, you know, water would make me happy inside. So it satisfies. It's basically what's going on. Dauk asa an yachgati. Dauk asa an yachgati. Dauk asa an yachgati. So if I were holding some things up and saying which one of these is the red thing, then you could answer. So again, an yachgati, that's the whole verb phrase. That's what you need to understand where the verb is. Yati is to be. Yach is like or similar to something. And then khan is fire. And that's how colors work in Tlingit. And we'll look at a bunch of different colors. Wasa'iyati. 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 So let's actually alter this one too. If we drag this up, and I'm going to give, we'll do 3 potential answers here. Okay, so here's a word. Well, let me just type them all in. Okay. Yuke. 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 So when you say that word, think about smiling faces and tables full of half-dried salmon and bowls full of berries and unicorns and rainbows. And you know, it's good. It's awesome. It's good, right? Yuke. And that can mean it's good, he or she is good. And it's a good response to this if someone says, you know, how are you doing? The other thing with wasa'iyati, and it's interesting because I've heard from some elders that it's kind of an invasive type of question. It's something you really ask to people, just people that you know. But as far as how to really initiate conversation, that's something really interesting to me. Because a lot of the elders, they'll say stuff, but then that's how we sort of start a lot of the conversations. But 2 fluent speakers who know each other pretty well, when they see each other, a lot of times they just sort of start talking. Right? Whatever is on their mind is sort of comes right to the surface. It's not a whole lot of how you doing, oh hey, what's up type of stuff. But now that there's so much influence from English, that's almost always the way I see conversations start. But you know, so now we can live with that. That's totally fine. So the other one is keshwasa. 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 I don't know, stoic face, it's okay, whatever, I don't know, just so-so kind of thing, but it depends. It's almost a non-answer. Kesh-ushke. 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 Anything you guys recognize from this part? Kesh, right? Not. It's not quite sick, but it's bad, right? And it doesn't mean not good. You could say there's ways to say not good, but this could specifically mean bad. And it's one to be a little careful with because, you know, it can, for some speakers, for a lot of speakers, it could also mean something evil or vicious. But in the context of this, if someone says, how are you doing? Like, kashishke, bad, right? Sadness, maybe grumpiness, maybe, you know, there's all kinds of things. Maybe a whole bunch of stuff is going wrong. Then, you know, we were working with an elder in Carcross, and he didn't want to go over any of the, because we went over a bunch of phrases. You know, we did this whole exercise, like, why could things be good? You know, I got some money, I see all my grandkids. You know, when we got to this, why could things be good? And he didn't want to come up with any of the phrases. And I understand that. I understand. But, so this is the negative, it's a negative form of yuck. There's a negative way to say it's not good, but this is a specific negative way to say it's actually bad. And there was a student of mine, and we saw each other, and I said, and sometimes you have conversation misfires, and it's totally okay. Right? I saw it yesterday, I was like, what's that CAT? And he said, das away. And that's totally fine, because being in the language is better than not being in the language. I don't care what's going on. It's always better in the language. It's got to be our driving philosophy. And so I saw another student, and you know, we'd been working on Tlingit for quite a while, and she has certainly worked on her own. She had a couple classes with me, and I saw her, she doesn't live in jail. And I said, what's that? She said, Kech ishke. And so Kech ishke would mean, what was that?
You are bad.
You're bad, right? So instead of Kech ushke, it's Kech ishke. And so I said, Chatke? You know, like me? And she said, Kech ishke. I was really confused for a second, and then I realized that she was probably just coming out a little bit wrong. And she didn't mean I was bad. She meant she was not doing well. So for our next thing, we'll go around the circle again. And you could pick any of these. It's none of our business. It could just be for practice. But whenever we practice some of the dialogue stuff, and we're doing a little bit of that now. And I'm not asking you to sort of find your acting motivation, but remember, it's communication. So as we get further along with this, and we want to practice how to use the language in certain ways, because I think that was our class when King DC was in there 2 years ago, maybe, and we were doing dialogue drills, and he just started like kind of booming his voice at us, saying, "You've got to feel it." He's saying we were reading it like robots, you know. Wasa ieti. You know, and so it's just like, and so, but that's how we start. But after a while, we start to figure out how to sort of feel the language as well. And really the way to feel the language a lot is to try and be around it quite a bit. And starting probably in October, there'll be plenty of chances to be around the language. There'll be a lot more chances than maybe have been in the recent past. Okay, so our options are 2 thumbs up, yuck, middle of the road, keshwasa, 2 thumbs down, keshke. Wasa yeti.
Okay.
Wasa yeti. Wasa yeti.
Okay.
Wasa yeti. Wasa yeti. Wasa yeti. Wasa yeti. Wasa yeti. Wasa yeti. Wasa yeti.
Wasa.
On the phone, wasa yeti.
Okay.
And Kakaushati, are you back?
I am.
All right. Wasa yeti.
Okay.
How? Yetkuchka wasa yeti.
Yuck, wa.
Oh, het wasa. Achgate wasa yeti.
Klesh wasa.
Hey. So sometimes you might hear speakers who will say wasasiyeti. So there's a S sort of at the end of that thing. And Tlingit is really interesting because you get lots of contraction and vowels running into consonants all the time. So there's this little sort of particle which is se, and it means Well, if you said wasasiyati as opposed to wasayati, wasayati would be like, how are you doing? Wasasiyati is sort of like, maybe tell me how you're doing. But if you don't want to tell me, that's okay. It just softens it a little bit. It doesn't, it pops up in a few minutes. Any questions? Okay. We're going to jump ahead. So getting to dasaway. So this is how we'll do it. We started going around the circle. This is our first time doing that. We're going to do this a lot through the semester. And so as we do this, you know, we start to get put on the spot a little bit more, but you know, it's no pressure. I always like to say, it's no pressure, just everything's on the line, right? But seriously, you got to try it. You got to step down from. We'll do more group stuff, and most of this is pretty straightforward. And what we're focusing on right now is on two concepts. You know, we just learned some phrases, but our main focus right now is between ya and we. Ya, we. So ya is like you're holding on to it. It's right next to you. It's very close, right here. That's how I translate ya. And then we would be there. So the context is if we were to say, you know, and in this case, we're going to stick with dasaway. Tomorrow we'll start working in dasaya, and we'll start working in another phrase as well, gusu. So what we'll do for this is, we did this the other day, is we'll look at pictures, then the name will come up. And this you can just follow along in the handout, starting from page 15 maybe. Where's the birch photo? Starting from page 15, and we're just going to go in the order of these different objects. And we'll say it twice as a group, then I'll ask you individually, not all. So we'll say the noun, we'll say it twice, then I'll look at you and I'll say dasaway, and I'll point at the screen. It's on the screen for us here in the room, and those of you online will see it. Those of you on the phone will have to just follow along with your handbook. And then you will say what the name of it is, and then away. Okay, so that's it. We got it? Atdaye. Atdaye. Shrugutin dasaway. Okay. We're just doing this. It's just one person who answers the question. We all do the noun together, though. Tas.
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 Dasaway.
Tas away.
Shawat.
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 Dasaway.
Shawat away.
Dasaway.
Away.
Ichte. Ichte. Dasaway. Okay. Te. Te. Dasaway. Sate. Sate. Dasaway.
Sate away.
Shaggy.
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 Dasaway.
Shaggy away.
Tikitkiya.
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 Dasaway.
Tikitkiya away.
Hit.
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 Dasaway.
Hit away.
Now we're on to the phone. Ayaudati.
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 Dasaway. Okay. Nukshiyan.
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 Kakautlati. Dasaway.
Shian Sewe.
Good.
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 Yecht uchta dasawe.
Good away.
Okay. Wushyaye.
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 Achech dasawe.
Wushyaye away.
Okay. Una.
Una.
Una
Una.
dasawe.
Una away.
Yai.
Yai.
Yai
Yai.
dasawe.
Yai away.
Yao.
Yao.
Yao
Yao.
dasawe.
Yao away.
E.
E.
E
E.
dasawe.
Away.
Siu.
Siu.
Siu
Siu.
dasawe.
See you, Owen.
Nu.
Nu.
Nu
Nu.
dasawe. So yesterday we talked about, last night in our beginning Tlingit class, we talked about a couple of cultural concepts. I'm going to turn off the screen share for a second. So the cultural concepts we talked about were two things. One is thaqas, and the other is jinnaha. For those of you who haven't been in my class, do you guys know what those two things are? Anybody heard of those? Probably does have to do with the hand, as far as how you linguistically break it down. Thaqas means something you don't do. An English equivalent might be taboo, right? Are there any, like, just general cultural, like general American cultural taboos? Yeah, so it's real interesting, right? Trying to get to that level of, because we have laws and we have other things, but then there's things that are, some laws are, like speeding. I don't know how everybody feels about it. Sometimes I go 10 miles over. Sometimes if I'm on the highway, I'll go more. And so everybody has their own sort of personal interpretation of wrong and right. But then you get into, like, marrying your sister or things like that. And those get into some sort of other territory. But it seems to be more of a legal sort of base and also a moral base, sort of a dilemma when we talk about sort of this broader American culture. When we get into thaqas and Tlingit, there's a wide variety of types of things. There's certain things that you're not supposed to do. It's culturally inappropriate, and something bad actually might become of it. Can you guys think of any examples that you know of in Tlingit? Yeah, so if somebody dies and you're showing a lot of, you usually don't eat foods off the beach. There's a lot of things that happen, especially you don't go collect foods off the beach. That's one. And if somebody dies and you want to show that you're in mourning, you might not eat any foods off the beach for like a whole year. Any others? Oh. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you don't talk about them, and then sometimes before you'd even go out, you might say a prayer or talk directly to their spirit, but then you don't talk to them anymore. And you certainly don't say nasty things about them, like the thing that that lady said in the story when the bear came and stole her. Yesh Uchta, did you have one?
Just, I know in Teslin, if you're a girl or a woman, you don't step over boys' legs if they're sitting on the floor.
Mm-hmm. Interesting. Yeah, I've heard you also, when a whale tail goes down, you're not supposed to look at it. It'll take your eyesight down there. Throwing rocks in the water, you're not supposed to throw rocks in the water. and making fun of your food, talking negatively about food that somebody prepares for you, refusing food or water when you're a guest in somebody's house. I remember my grandma, like, she'd say, "I hope you stop." She'd get really offended, and so some of this could be you're offending somebody personally, but then with shakas as well, like if I were to stand up and say, I'm probably the greatest whatever basketball player, if I'm really boasting about myself, especially publicly, if I go to somebody's funeral and I'm making jokes the whole time in front of everybody, I'm laughing. There's a lot of things, and it's not just something that's culturally inappropriate. What they talk about is when shakas, that type of thing goes out there, the jinaha that's what's gonna come back, and something bad is gonna happen. And sometimes we think of this. Some people say, "Oh, that's like karma," And in some instances, it might be similar. I don't know enough about like the real true details of how karma works. But the way that jinaha generally functions is it could be something like that. But it's usually something that's going to happen down the line, right? So sometimes someone might say, "I hope you trip," and then they turn around and they fall. Right? So that's sort of like what we call instant karma. But jinaha might be I stand up and I'm just boasting about myself all the time. And then next thing you know, a month later, 3 people die in my home community. Or, one of my kids, something really bad happens to them. And the way that they talk about it to me is they said, "I don't want anything bad." So the elder said, "I don't want to talk about these negative things." He says, because if we keep talking about that, then 20 years from now, something bad is going to happen. Or future generations, something bad is going to happen to them. Famine, these other things. And so it's an interesting concept. As we start learning more about the language, sometimes we'll just sort of park the car for a minute and just talk about some of this stuff because it's important. You can have a lot of fun in the language. You can talk about an awful lot of things in the language. It's full of so much knowledge about this particular place. But it's also full of things to be cautious about. Generally, what they've told me is they say, if you don't know about it, don't mess with it. Right? And so there's a wide variety of things that can apply to the ways of a traditional healer. And I saw somebody who was making fun of the way somebody was speaking Tlingit. And then he stood up and was kind of bellowing out to the people of New Hit. But he said, "Now hit," instead of new hit. And so, and I was just real quiet. I was trying. And somebody came up to me, because new is fourth. Like, people of the fourth house. And somebody came up to me and said, "Where's the whiskey house?" Because now is liquor. It comes from the word lam, which comes from the word ram. So we're just always cautious about the things we're learning, the ways we're using the language. We will see the default for Tlingit is to be respectful, to be caring, to be kind. But if there's 2 people who know each other really well, they can tease each other an awful lot as well. Say all kinds of really funny things. Questions?
Known as jinaha,
Mm-hmm.
or jinn, in Arabic and in Japanese is
Oh, really? Interesting. Well, in Tlingit, it means hand, that word on its own. Where did my little mouse go? I can't find it. There it is. Okay, so back to our lesson. Who went last? Oh, that's why I thought it was something. It's the 4th. Yana 8. Yana 8. Dasawe? Yak. Yak. Dasawe? Saknain. Saknain. Dasawe. Cheech. Cheech. Dasawe.
Cheech.
And on the phone. Da. Da. Dasawe. Hey. Did I say what's around Ermin? Did I say that? Okay, we're not going to do that ever again. Gao. Gao. Kakao shatit dasawe. Heen. Heen. Yesht uchta dasawe.
Heen away.
Okay. Janmu. Janmu. Achkej dasawe.
Junwoo away.
Okay. So the thing, so this is like, it's on the screen, none of us are holding it, so that's das away. And then the answer would still be away. So the next phase in this set of exercises is we'll use the cards, and we'll each have a card. For those of you on the phone and those of you online, you can just pick something and tell me that that's the thing that you have. If you have some sort of prop, whether you have a stuffed animal or if you actually have a general, go ahead and bring it with you to class. We might bring a few props, but we'll just use the cards as well, just so we're sticking with the same set of words for now. And the process, so tomorrow we're going to go over a couple different things. So the way it'll work is, let me turn this thing on. So the way that this will work is there'll be two phases. So one, and this comes down to basically I'm holding one thing, you're holding another thing. So if I were holding my Genwu and you were holding your Heen, I might ask you Das away, and you would say Heen aya. And then I would hold up my Genwu and I'd say Das aya. And you'd say Genwu away. So the purpose of doing this is, one, is continuing to drill this concept of ya and we. Because we can understand like ya, we, and we can just keep practicing that. But when we start hearing it in context, dasaya, and then what's the correct answer? And the correct answer is depending on where that thing is in relation to you, right? So
Colleen, did you lose your feed or was that just me?
I lost it too, Jasmine.
Oh no. Okay.
I think it was right near the end anyway, wasn't it?
Yeah, class should be over, but
Yeah. I was going to ask you, are you using a microphone, a separate one?
Yeah, I don't have a camera, but I do have, it's like a headset mic. I did online classes last semester, so I got like the fancy one where you can mute yourself that you wear as a headset. So
Okay.
it just
Because,
makes it easier.
yes, your voice comes in nice and clearly, and I don't know how I'm coming in at all. I can't hear myself.
Oh, you sound good over here.
Oh, okay, that's good. But I thought I might try to buy a little mic and
Uh-huh.
see if I can set it up.
Yeah. Well, I like it because I can mute myself unless it's my turn to talk.
Yeah, that's a good idea because I wondered, if extra kids come into the house or the phone rings, then all of a sudden I'm broadcasting that to the class.
Uh-huh. I think you can also, on your screen, probably click up at the top, you can mute your own microphone.
Yes,
Okay.
yes. It says mute microphone, and then I hopefully I would remember to turn it back on. Though.
Yeah, that's the hard part.
No, it sounds good. I love this class.
Yeah, I'm really enjoying being in it. So, and my kids are in TCLL and they're doing beginning Tlingit this semester too. So it works out perfect.
That is so good. I
Yeah.
know Lance came to Carcross,
Mhm.
which is about 45 miles away from here, 40 miles away, and Millie and I went every day for a 10-day course,
Uh-huh.
and there were all these just beautiful elders there, and there were kids, and then there was all of us, and taught incredibly well so that every single thing that we did, there were elders just actively giving, and it was so, it was just precious. It was so lovely to see that.
Oh, it sounds amazing.
Yeah, it was really, really good. Yeah.
Well,
And
great.
I'll tell you something funny. Well, my job, Millie and I would come back to Whitehorse every night, and my job was to boil maybe 3, 4, 5 dozen eggs to bring the next day because the
Mhm.
elders really loved them. And one night, Millie and I, we had homework, so we were working and working away at the homework, and I had eggs boiling in the kitchen, and one of my kids was in there having a snack, and I realized that I'd let those eggs boil for over an hour.
Oh no.
My kid was sitting in there, all this steam in the kitchen, and he never said anything. So
Oh no.
anyway, I made him eat one of those eggs, and they were fine. So
Oh, good.
no, that's good, Jasmine. Where are you? Are you
I'm in Juneau.
in Juneau? Okay,
So
perfect.
I'm just downtown at Sea Alaska, so I can't drive out to the campus and back over lunch. So
Yeah, yeah. No, that's good. I'm slowly getting the hang of this online stuff, but
mhm.
I guess I'm slow at figuring it out. And I always panic because I click on join the Hangout,
Uh-huh.
and then nothing happens for quite a while.
Oh, it takes you a little while to connect.
Well, or maybe it's something on Lance's end before the live feed comes back to me or something.
Uh-huh. Yeah, it seems like we start about 5 minutes after.
Yeah, yeah, which is fine. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
But I
Uh,
really like the Google Hangout, especially because I've taken other online classes with UAS, and they use like Illuminate or Blackboard or something, and it's just not as friendly. This is much easier. I like this a lot better. So.
ah, that's good to find out. Yeah, yeah. No, it's good. I missed the first 3 lessons or so because I was with one of my sisters who was sick, but I looked at them afterwards. I love being able to go on YouTube and watch a class again.
Yeah, yeah, that's really helpful. So.
Uh, yeah, and I'm going to try to come to Juneau to see Millie and everybody sometime in the fall.
Oh, cool. Well, you have to let me know when. We could
That would be
maybe
good.
I'll come to class.
Ah, I'll bring you some soap berries.
Oh, wow, that'd be awesome.
Do you have soap berries on the coast there?
I don't think so. I've never had them until actually this celebration, because I work at Sea Alaska, so I got to, well, I did the soapberry contest, facilitated it. So that was the first time I've ever seen them made and ever tried them. And
Ah, okay, I'll bring a bunch.
oh, that'd be awesome.
It's on my list.
Sweet.
Ah, yeah.
Well, good to chat with you, and I'll visit with you again tomorrow.
Okay, Jasmine. You
All
go
right.
on. Take care.
See you, Quest team.
Yeah. Bye-bye.